Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of NF Twins. In this episode, we talk to Logan Kelly. He shares his entrepreneurial journey from car salesman to AI startups. We discuss the future of AI governance and explore how AI is transforming business operation as well as management. Me personally, I learned a lot from Kelly. I'm sure we'll do as well on AI governance. So let's just buckle up and jump right in. All right, Logan. So tell me, how did you get started? What brought you into entrepreneurship?
So, from a start perspective, literally, I left college kind of early and got into selling cars. I started in the car business as a car salesman at a Chevy store. And then that was kind of like the first like eat what you kill kind of world, right? Like, yeah, there was like maybe a little bit of a guaranteed income, but not much. And me and some of my, colleagues like really, kind of shot the lights out and got promoted like really, really quick. Went through the management and then we ended up opening our own store. And then quickly like went and bought a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store. And that was like kind of that was like my early to mid 20s, like just like, moving quick. And then realized like I wanted to, get into technology. I built some technology for the stores and stuff, and decided to go a different direction. And really kind of went deep on AI. I built a tool to help my cycling training that kind of like mapped like training
Something
plans.
like Strava?
What's that?
Something like Strava?
Well, think like Strava like records kind of what you did, right? But like the way like a lot of like I don't know if you've ever heard of Training Peaks, but like a coach will load in like, okay, you're going to do this training session. You're going to be in this like power zone and this heart rate zone for this amount of time. So then it like basically said, okay, you're going to burn this many calories. You're going to this many carbs, this kind of stuff. And so this is like 2020, 2021. Take that, be able to build a meal plan with like recipes and then, go to the grocery store. It was like a really cool idea. It like worked really well for some people. It was my first project. It was like garbage UI. Super cool. Someday I'll double click on that. But during that time, I was also, building out a lead generation agency with my current partners.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like this kind of consolidated on like GPT, kind of came out and so then it was like, whoa, we could take kind of all this like good sales stuff, all this like AI and turn this into a, company that was using AI to sell. And that's where Call Sign, the, kind of fully autonomous sales agents came out of.
That's super interesting. Did you guys raise any money with that or was it bootstrapped?
Yeah, we've raised like, I think it's like 2.5 at this point.
Nice.
So not like
In one round or multiple rounds?
one round. Yeah, one round.
Nice.
Yeah. It's not like stupid AI money that's been going around, but
Comes also with more pressure.
What's that? Yeah. And like, you can't have that pressure in the AI space right now. Like it's just changing so much. You don't know exactly where it's going to be in a week, right? So if you've got, that pressure to drive revenue, and you see this all over the place, like you've got companies that blow up revenue and then can't deliver on it because the technology is not quite there. So, we're moving fast, but slow, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, what's the Marine saying always? Slow is fast and fast is steady, or
smooth.
Like no, smooth. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yeah.
No, I agree, man. I've seen so many like startups. It's crazy. Like also that are overfunding. They have so much pressure now that they have to deliver, and they raised like 40 million, 50 million. There's like, I don't know, they're making 1 million, 2 million in revenue. I'm like, my man, what's the math here? That's crazy. What was it? I think the AI startup called the Thinking Machines Lab, which like raised a few billion as a seed round and then totally collapsed.
It's insane.
Just like wild.
Yeah. It's not, because it's really what you make at the end of it, right? And if you take a bunch of money and like you sell the company for 100 million, but that's a down round, like that sucks. Especially if they have preferences, like liquidation preferences, and you're like,
all right, I'm not getting anything. You sold for 100 million, and basically there's so many preferences that you're not getting anything out of it, which is
Yeah.
definitely not a good thing. My question is, Logan, so how did you even come up then with the idea with like Calsign as well? How did you go then to B2B or to B2C? Like, did you go, like, what were your target audience?
Yeah, with call sign, we were B2B. So we're selling to sales teams. And then that's kind of where like our agentic governance platform came out, which is even more B2B, right? Like higher, larger companies and, a little bit more sophisticated buyers. So yeah, B2B is definitely my preference to live in. I spent a lot of time in the car business, right? Like B2C, and like it's just a different world. Yeah.
So what's the ticket size that you usually sell for in call sign versus then also then governance? Is that super premium or what's the feel that you're going in?
Yeah, we're focused on the call sign side. It's really about these like for call sign. It's like this is where I think AI the value of AI can really be seen in these companies that need to make a decision between, do I hire kind of my first like 3 or 4 salespeople, right, or do I agentify that and maybe not have to hire all of this like staff. And so we thought that the kind of value prop to build like a value-based pricing model, right, would be easier if we went to the smaller companies where it's like, you're going to make this decision. It's going to be $5,000, right, to hire like a salary to hire this like base SDR. So really we've been focused on smaller ticket size on the call sign side so that, we can kind of get traction. And then, as people start to understand what the value we're providing, and we can grow with those companies.
So do you do cold outreach or what was your strategy? What was your go-to-market with call sign?
Yeah, it's you know, cold outreach, and then we've got literally like Facebook lead ads like absolutely crush, right? So it's like Facebook lead ads, and then, I don't know if you guys run Facebook lead ads, but you've got like about 5 minutes to get in touch with that person before they forgot what they did. And so then that can funnel right into, the call sign piece. And so now you've got some intent. And then, we've got a lot
Nice.
of like the first party intent data and all that kind of stuff.
Did you automate that process? Because you said you have like 5 minutes to outreach. How did you automate it?
Super agentically. 'Cause we can see like, okay, that lead did this stuff. They looked at these pages, right? And our agents can parse through that and, build a great text message, great email, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What's the base for you guys as agent? Are you guys using Claude or are you OpenAI or mix
So
or mix
So
or
yeah, so we built our own agent framework. So there's a bit of RAG involved in this. There's
nice?
like a retrieval augmented generation, and so what's cool about the world, like if you look at Hugging Face, there's thousands and thousands of
That's so
models.
good.
You look at Groq with a Q, not Elon Musk's
Yeah.
chatbot. The Groq has done a lot. I mean, they just got sold to Nvidia, but they've done a lot with high speed like inference. So open source models that can really increase like the decision making time and all that, and then cost comes down too. So what we see is like if you're just running like a frontier model, like GPT or OpenAI like 5.3 or Claude Opus 4.6, like you're just
Yeah.
going to spend so much in tokens. And so we've built these really like kind of sophisticated multi-stage, like if you're making a decision, let's find the cheapest model, the fastest model, and then only at the kind of end of the process, like writing an email, now we're using a frontier model, that kind of thing.
Logan, I have a question. So would you say you are replacing a completely person, or would you rather say you're increasing the output of one person so you don't need to hire more people?
Yeah, yeah, this is something I I get real fired up about. Like if you look at like Claude Code or Claude Cowork or these kinds of things, like there's so much in the world with people talking about like, oh, we're gonna, AI is gonna replace people and everything. I don't think so. I think it's like what we see like a salesperson or a developer or a marketer or these kinds of people, let's assume they're trying to do the best job possible. They just don't know what they don't know. Right. And like AI can like explode how much that one person can do. So I see things like call sign as, being something that can enhance a salesperson. Now, does that mean that if one salesperson can output more, then it could, reduce the need for hiring in the future? Well, that's the management of the company's decision, and we've definitely seen that happening.
I actually just listened to a podcast about the founder of Klarna. I'm not sure whether it's like a financial service provider with also for financing. And they reduced their employee count from 7,000 to under 3,000 by using AI, but basically just enabling the current user base or employees. But they didn't fire them people, but they rather like over time, the numbers reduced because they basically stopped hiring. And because people leave after a certain period of time, they were just like going down. And the good part about it is because, of course, now people may be afraid of, well, I don't get any, AI might replace me. But what they did basically of all the cost cutting, 50% of the profit that they made, they basically put it as bonuses for these employees to better long term like align them, right? Because in the end, it's like if you see, hey, you're going to work harder, but with AI, it's going to be much better. You get also better compensated. It also helps these employees to stay loyal.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like our team uses AI like all the time, and it's crazy to see people who are, the people who work for us are like startup. They like the multiple hats and stuff, but like what AI allows somebody to believe that they can do like internally is insane. Like today, I'm going to turn into an
Like
SEO
cocaine.
genius, and then it's like, yeah, bam, or I'm going to set this agent to go do this thing while I go do this other thing, and it's like people are excited to show up and to crush, and that's what excites me about AI. I think that the like idea that we're going to replace a bunch of workers, maybe that happens in 10 years, but I don't think it's now.
So if agents start running workflows inside companies, and like who's liable if something breaks, like the model provider or like the orchestrator or the company using it? How does that work?
It's funny how much I hear like, well, ChatGPT told me to and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you don't do that with Google, right? Like Google, you
Yeah.
research something and you make the wrong decision. Like AI is a tool, and that's where, for call sign on any given day, like or on any given hour, we could have 10, 15, 20,000 agent executions all happen at once, right?
Yeah.
And that's where like Waxell, our governance layer, comes in, and it's like the liability rests with, let's set like legal liability aside, right? That's for the lawyers to talk about. But if I've instituted like a sales agent or a customer service agent or those kinds of things, like there's like all this like legal liability, but there's the liability of like my reputation, my company's reputation, the goal, hitting the goal, not getting the sale, like that. You can't go to the prospect, you can't go to your customer and say, well, it was AI that screwed up. Like the cat's out of the bag. So if we don't just assume that the AI is the liabilities kind of at the level of the person who deployed it, like you're missing the point.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree because in the end, it's just like if you ask Google, I really like the example what you said. Like, yeah, if you ask Google, like, I mean, of course, it's your own fault. What are you doing with the results? It's just like interesting to see. Mark, what was the one that you saw with OpenAI?
Oh yeah, so today I read I follow the rundown. I don't know if you know this newsletter. It's an AI newsletter, and apparently the chief security officer at OpenAI used OpenClaw, and apparently she forgot to type some limiter in there, and the AI deleted all her inbox.
Oh my God.
So she was like getting owned by the new acquisition, and I was like,
and that's an open source project, right? Like that's literally like you put it on your machine, that's on you. That's great.
Yeah, it was reported that she was sprinting to turn off her MacBook mini Mac. Imagine.
But coming to the question, so how would that work with Waxell, like with the governance layer? So how would that actually?
Yeah, so what's cool about like in agentic governance is like not super well understood because like agents in general are not well understood. I mean, the stuff like you log into LinkedIn, it's like, oh, I did this to OpenClaw, and OpenClaw like, jacked up my token spend and all this kind of stuff. But like what's interesting is with these kind of like agent workflows, multi-agent workflows, and all this is like at every point, right? Like say there's an LLM call that's gonna, like a tool call that's gonna happen, right? There's a before the LLM call happens, you can check stuff there. After the LLM call happens, you can check stuff there. When a tool is called, before a command into the command line is made, right? You can check that. And so what governance does, and what we do at Waxell, is we build the UI enables people to build what we call dynamic policies. So you can actually start to limit, like, okay, like, accessing an inbox, right? Maybe that's where you need to ask for user input, right? Things like adding, so if you've given OpenClaw, which by the way is insane, OpenClaw access to your inbox, right? Well, now, like, there's going to be a lot of like email addresses that might not be like publicly, like available, right? So that becomes like a PII issue, right? You might have information, especially like OpenAI, like chief security officer, there's going to be like maybe IP, right? And so like now you start to limit, like, okay, you can't look at attachments, you can't, and OpenClaw and these kinds of things, they're using the command line to search for things and all this kind of stuff. So everything that's happening, although it feels like magic, it's pretty like programmatic in this. Well, it is programmatic in the sense of like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. There's hooks to get into and all that. And so governance is like, as these things are happening, let's slow the hell down and let's look at, is this allowed? Should this actually happen? And not after the fact, right? Oh, I
So
forgot that.
it's
MD. Yeah, go ahead.
so it's the in between letter. In between layer. So basically, it goes first to Waxell and like, yo, homie, I want to do this, and Waxell's like, nah, man, on the inboxes, we're at OpenAI here. No way, Jose. How about I can give you just one email, for example?
Right. Yeah. 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 And this is where like the chief security officer at OpenAI should really give us a call, right? Because that would never happen. Wax. Yeah.
The question is, so the other day, actually, it was a couple months ago, they were doing like, I don't know, testing with AI in general, and they were like, hey, turn yourself off, please. And the AI was lying, first of all, and that didn't turn off, I think, like 60% of the time. And then the question is, with the governance, like with Waxell, could you enforce that they would turn off itself? How do you prevent that from lying and all this stuff? How does it work? And what's the general, what's your thought on this in general?
Yeah. Okay. So the kind of turn off. So there's, when we look at policies, right? In a policy, like we have like thousands of different configurations of policies that somebody, and you might have one agent that has multiple different policies or tool calls, skills, et cetera, with different policies. So the first one is like, if something kind of at like error handling is the best example. So if this agent keeps on running this thing and there's like 3 errors or whatever that happens, then that can initiate what we call a kill switch, right? So bam, function ends, like it's gone. It's not asking for, the AI to interpret the message from the user and then like do like some sort of function call to then error itself out or something. So there's that. So with our kill switches, you also have the ability to just like say like this particular agent or this particular workflow just can't run anymore, right? So now you have a very deterministic way of kind of enforcing that. And that could be triggered by token limits. That could be triggered by the fact that PII was found in a prompt, for example. So, hey, stop running this, so that the engineers can figure out how are we getting leakage of IP or PII, that kind of stuff. So I forget what the second part of your question was, but yeah.
So basically, how Waxell could, like, how does it enforce it? Or because these models, when back in the day, I think that I wasn't aware of agentic progress in there. There was just lying basically to prevent from being shut down, and
Yeah.
how to enforce that.
Yeah. So the kill switch becomes deterministic, a deterministic way. So that would be a way that I would kill that you would kill an agent if certain thresholds were met. Then when we look at like the kind of lying piece, now you're looking at like eval, right? And so, you can then and we have this, and I think developers are kind of figuring out how to flow this in, where it's like you build a kind of check to the agent, right? So, okay, you tell the agent to shut off, or the LLM to shut off. It responds with, okay, I'm shutting off. Then you have another model that's less, we call it like LLM as a judge, these kinds of things. And so it's like, okay, wait, this, this was the input, this was the output. And now you have this QA style, large language model call that says, all right, let's go ahead and check to see if this has actually shut off, right? And that's kind of governance at what I would say at the lowest level, where like a developer could even just like do that without needing something like Waxell. So,
Nice.
the idea that like somebody would experience an AI, like an agent or an AI, like lying and not have a check. I would say if you're building agents in like production, that's just like, it's kind of like bad development, right? Like, yeah.
All right. That's good to know.
What's the biggest misconception right now about AI agents?
It's funny. I think to the layman, like to the people who aren't, in the agent space, it's like that agents can do anything, and that they're that they're going to replace all of our jobs and all that kind of stuff. Like the minute you start to try to either build an agent or get something like Claude Cowork or Claude Code, there's so much to do, right? And then I
Yeah,
think
they're pretty shit. I said they're still like not shit, but very limited still.
Yeah, it's like a
They're
YouTube video.
Yeah.
When a YouTube video, I downloaded or I installed Claude. Now I'm gonna make 10,000 euros in a day. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, if that would be that easy.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, it kind of like misses the point of it all. It's like, we're still in this place that, if you were interested in like, the guy who's like, I want to make 10,000 euros today. It's like, you could also spend that same amount of time thinking through like a really specific problem in the agent space, and maybe make an impact on, the world that lasts for years. I mean, that's where we are. If you're in the agent space right now, you could build a framework or add a skill or something that like changes the game, right? You have that ability. I think at the other misconception at the like development level is like, I see a lot of companies that are about to like push out agents into production that like don't necessarily, like not even like governance at the Waxell side, but like don't have a lot of the eval that we're talking about, right? So it's like pushing basically experiments, prototypes, and saying, we're going to run this shit on financial data.
You're like, yo guys, I think this is a horrible idea, but not my money.
Yeah. So we have a lot of experiments, and that's the way we're going to see agents, as we look back. It's like, oh, I think those are ready for production. Yeah, that was a science project that you put onto your servers, which, to each his own.
So how do you evaluate these things? I mean, you said that you work with these clients, and walk me through a process from you just start. I don't know. I reach out to you. I'm like, look, we have an AI business in the beauty sector. We want to have agents reach out to, I don't know, to all possible clients, and then do the sales, etc., for them. Or is this even a target, or are we going to be too small? How big does the business have to be?
Yeah. So from right now with Waxell, we have a group of clients, and we're actually launching our like open source observability and governance framework. And then in the next month or so, we're actually going to release our runtime that we currently have, kind of select, users that we've been doing sort of projects for on. And so our goal is that anybody who's pushing out agents can govern those and then evolve those into the Waxell framework, which I believe reduces that whole like experiment, prototype, lack of governance, kind of part of the life cycle. As far as who we think have the most to gain from governance, yeah, we're looking at, billion plus revenue, and those are people who have these amazing teams who have built some amazing stuff that just, as it starts to, kind of progress through the life cycle, they're going to see like, whoa, token burn is pretty high. How do we, start to adjust what models we're using, that kind of thing.
How can I imagine the sales cycle for like companies that are worth billions? Like, how do you even get like an entry point there? Because like if these are your target groups.
Yeah. I think what's cool right now is the context. Context is like the most important part about sales, right? For us right now, the context is like pretty like built in, right? Like you guys are working on this. Agenda governance is pretty, early, right?
It's
I
very
have some
niche.
solutions and that it's, I mean, I've never talked to so many like CTOs, VP of director or VP of engineerings at, $1 billion plus companies as I have in the last like 3 weeks, right? It's insane.
That's awesome. So how did you guys? So you said this is basically the result of call sign. So when did
Yeah.
you start Waxell? Is it like this year, end of
Oh,
last
yeah.
year?
Yeah. Like, we started kind of generalizing what we built for call sign in like November. And
Oh,
then on like January, like 18th, 19th, we launched the website, and, kind of had the initial cohort of customers that we kind of got in like December, early January. So revenue generating now and, getting ready to.
congratulations! That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And
Congrats.
so, as we move into March, we're looking to kind of make it possible for anybody who cares to implement it.
So
How
going to
big is the
open
team?
source
Oh,
or
sorry.
what's the?
Yeah, it's going to be open source. Like our observability and governance SDK uses open telemetry as kind of it's kind of backed by open telemetry. So they could, the user could configure it to like out of the box, it'll go into our UI. But if they wanted to send that stuff into their own like Grafana or Datadog or that kind of thing, they could, and that would just be open source. It doesn't actually cost them anything, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but then you bypass kind of the governance side of things. So to get all the governance and everything, it's kind of an open source, I would say like SDK, kind of like a, Datadog has an SDK, et cetera. And that's kind of how we see it.
That's interesting. Because you were going to say something.
No, my question was just how big is the team actually right now? And is it basically that you're now, are you still running call sign full time? Or is it basically you're just like, okay, guys, we're pivoting towards this, or are you using the one as more like a lead gen? And then the upsell would be then Waxell.
Yeah, so we actually have a very small team. We have like 5 people.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't need more.
No, we're like agentic AF, and everybody is, bought in. Everybody's, shareholders in the company, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. So call sign is still a thing, but the call sign agents actually run on the Waxell runtime platform, right? So everything that we're saying about governance and scaling agents and all that kind of stuff, that's already like being, that's already been running on this infrastructure for 8 months. So basically every day my other developer on the team is kind of like looking at data with call sign and then figuring out how to use the Waxell runtime to make it better. It's a little bit split focus, but I think it's like kind of split focus, but not really.
But it's kind of nice because you get to use basically synergies out of these kind of businesses, and then you can already have a good case. You're like, hey, this is a case study. Look, we already did this for call sign, so it works, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. Do you believe that the governance of AI agents is going to be the new cybersecurity in the sense of that this could be billion, if not $1 trillion industry?
It is mind-boggling how big this is going to be, right? I think we're not going to see agents, they're like Salesforce with Agentforce was like 2025 is the year of the agents. And then everybody in the beginning of 2026 is like, we thought it was going to be 2025, but now it's going to be 2026. And I think like functionality of agents is there, right? Like you can do some incredible stuff if you're, a skilled, kind of developer, understanding what this stuff is, like kind of more than just a vibe coder that can vibe code a lang chain, workflow, right? But I think the limiter is going to be as like systems admins and these kinds of people are like, whoa, wait a second. The financial teams are like, yeah, dude, this is not cheaper than having a person doing this work, right? That's going to be where, because a lot of governance is like, you need to be able to see what's going on, right? So like, oh, we have Opus 4.6 absolutely crushing tokens.
So expensive.
Yeah, but like some of these times it's like summarizing text, right? Like you do not need a frontier model to summarize text. Like Meta put out a bunch of llama models that are great at that, right? You're not asking it to know anything that's not already there. So like, okay, so we see that now we can start to optimize, change the allowed models that, the agent's using, maybe the developer updates a little bit of code, and now we're, kind of off to the races. Like a normal piece of software is, created. So I think we're at a place where we don't have the infrastructure that we do to launch cloud SaaS, but we think that it's going to, agents are all of a sudden going to do this stuff. So that's where I think like governance is like the next logical step in the kind of evolution of all this.
Because basically you're fast forwarding the progress that would have been through, I don't know, years of building nuclear plants, and then also having more data centers because you need energy and you need to have the processing power to make it much cheaper. Because the frontier models, I don't think they're going to be processing necessarily cheaper.
No, and it's amazing. You've got these like Apple like putting smaller models on phones,
Oh,
and
yes.
like it is funny what you can do
LMs.
with a fine-tuned small model. It's funny what you can do when you use like Claude's like haiku to do something simple, or ask it to understand. Is this user asking for this, or this? Right? Pick one. Like those things we don't need frontier models. And by the way, frontier models take forever, like latency wise. Like if you're trying to do things in real time, that's not that's not good enough.
Unless you use Groq, it's pretty nice. I mean, not Groq from X,
Yeah.
but Groq,
Oh no,
the
yeah, Groq
NVIDIA
with a
chips.
Q. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
doing like a Groq
That's fucking
tattoo. We
amazing.
use Groq so much. Yeah, it's awesome.
NVIDIA made a fucking crazy power play by not purchasing them, but licensing them. I'm like, yeah, guys, you're doing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was scared when I saw that because like Groq is like it's so fast. It's like almost faster than a human can think. And a lot of the like using like one of the big models, and like OpenAI has some of their models on Groq, the OSS or whatever. So yeah, it's what they're doing at Groq just fires me up. It's so fast, so good.
It's such a. I mean, it was a gamble, but damn, it's paying off. It's
Yeah,
incredible to see. Actually,
yeah.
like, it's gonna be cool what the future brings in that sense.
Where do they produce the chips? That's a good question, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
I know
guessing.
they.
I'm guessing it's still a wrapper of TSMC. To be honest,
Yeah,
Taiwanese chips.
yeah. I know. Like, because I started using Grok when they had like it was like early, a couple years ago, like late, and I was talking to like one of their product teams a few months ago, and they're like, "Yeah, we had like 2 data centers at that point. Now we have data centers all around the world." Like, I remember it was like rate limit hell, with Grok.
Yeah.
So good, except it works half the time. But now, like, they're just as available as OpenAI or Anthropic. It's pretty
Back in
wild.
the day, did you use it through Replicate or directly through the Groq API?
Yeah, I went right through the Grok cloud. It was crazy. They were like, hit us on Twitter, message this person on Twitter and get like rate limits lifted. It was definitely wild times. Yeah.
You're like, what is this? What is
Yeah.
this? But sure,
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah.
on my PayPal?
By the way, it's designed in the US, but obviously produced at TSMC.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
wow.
Yeah,
Uh,
Taiwanese. I mean, the big chip factories are being built in the US right now. The newest ones. So it's going to take, I think, like a year or two still till they're up, because TSMC, due to some political situation, they're moving some big factories to the US. Makes sense.
Scary times for them. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I do not want to switch to them. Not gonna lie to you. That should to
I,
have that factory. I think near Phoenix. I think they wanted to build one, but I'm not
Logan,
100% sure.
I have a question. Would you say that now junior employees are dead, or would you say actually they're not dead, that they're actually way more productive because they will directly work with AI? What's your take on it?
So it's funny, like we've been doing a lot with like Claude Cowork internally, right? And it's pretty amazing. Like so we haven't been onboarding employees, but we're obviously, you think about 5 people, we're kind of on the cutting edge, like constantly, right? So there's a lot of sort of training of people on the next like step, just so we can disseminate the information and sales can know what's going on and marketing can know what's going on, you know? And so we've done a lot with like building these kind of readmes and, you know, markdown files for Claude that are like, this is how I want you to go through and teach somebody and go to this website and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that junior employees plus like a Claude cowork, really well, you know, constructed kind of onboarding process and learning process. Like, do we want to train the senior employee who's thinking, what the hell is AI? Or do we want to train the person who, you know, and so I don't know if junior employees once management and like HR teams and training teams like really get understand like what I'm talking about with the way that AI could onboard people. I don't know, man. I think junior employees might be all junior employees. Yeah.
That reminds me of 2 months ago, actually last month, we had a guest on. He used to run a multi-billion-dollar company, and he's now off to a new business. And he said, "Look, guys, even though I loved my development team at the old company, like because they were up to 3,000 employees, I think, at some point, and he's like, the team was amazing, but I just got all new employees sub 30 because I wanted to have the generation that grew up with ChatGPT and like
Yeah.
AI because they're
Yeah.
they think different. They're so much faster. Like if you coded before AI, it's different. It's just like you learned it the old school way. You're not like old dogs don't learn new tricks. So I was like, I was so fascinated to hear about that. He's like, look, senior guys are good and stuff, but these junior guys, what they can do now because they don't have these mental frameworks that they're holding them back.
Yeah. It's funny. I was telling my team early in the ChatGPT days, like ChatGPT 3.5, like which you look back at it, it's like, oh my God, that's terrible,
Yeah.
right?
What was I using?
I used to use the term like ego. Don't have ego. Like it's like you have a question, you have multiple thoughts. Like just put that into AI and let AI like kind of massage it with you. And it's funny with like Claude Code and Claude Cowork, which I'm a big, you know, booster of. It's even more that way, right? Hey, I've got this like problem. Here's all my thoughts. Help me kind of work through it. Help me schedule it. Like it's insane. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Our old, now we had a previous business in the gaming space, and our old CTO, I think it was like 4 years ago, we're like, look, use AI. I mean, I heard that, I think the beginning of Copilot, like they had some Copilot with AI, and like, look, just use it. And he's like, no, I don't want to. I'm going to be faster anyways. I'm like, man, if it can just help you with just some of the syntax, it's just so, yeah, like
Yeah.
old dogs, you learn new tricks. It's just different. Doesn't
It's
matter.
crazy. But the powerful thing is when old dogs do learn the new tricks, right?
Crazy.
Like, when we get the senior devs and stuff, like, you know, you see some of them and they know it because they can read the file. That's the problem with vibe coding, right? Is like people aren't reading files. That's why I'm happy I started before AI, right? Because I can like, no, holy shit, that's not what we want to do. Don't execute that code, bro.
Yeah, that's for me. I mean, we're running a new business now, and we are vibe coding. I learned how to code, like not code traditional sense 2 years ago, but with no code. So I'll use like Xana as the back end and like front end with WeWeb and stuff. So the logic, I understand everything. I had to set up like multiple, like also create an app with Flutterflow. So I understand how the process works. I just can't fucking read the files. But it
Yeah.
already helped me so much with the vibe coding. And like I know vibe coding gets a bad rep, and I understand it because sometimes I'm reading like, what do you fucking want to do here? Because I always tell them, please explain to me what you want to do. I'm like, look, I can't read the
Yeah.
file, but what it tells you, it doesn't make sense, my
Yeah.
man. Like that's
Yeah.
just fucking
Yeah.
stupid. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice definitely nice to kind of be able to read it and then like put it back in and just be like swearing at the thing. Like you could never talk to it like you can, like an employee, you could never say what you can say to AI. And it's amazing. If you talk to everybody like you can talk to AI, you get it done.
My favorite prompt is always, please use best practices and industry standards that will help this code scale. And then all of a sudden, it's so much smarter. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, why the fuck didn't you build this at the beginning?
Or think from first principles. Also one of my favorites because like when it starts repeating and you're in like a death loop and it just like always tries to fix it and just doesn't fix, like
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Talk about this. What were one of the mental models that you had to change? Because in the last 3, 4 years, with the rise of, let's say, first LLMs and now agentic, what was the things that mental models that you had in terms of productivity and coding, and in general, running a business that you're like, man, I thought this was fixed in my head. This is how the world works, but I had to let go of this.
I think it was really the thing that always like surprises me is like what I think what we can do in a day, right? And like, GPT, when GPT like 5 point whatever came out like midway through last year, it was like, oh my God, we can get a little bit more done. And so I think the big shift is like, then I started like using Claude Code, and I had been kind of putting off Claude Code, and then it got really good like mid-January, I think is like when it. And so it's like the I've always thought like I don't know, like there's always something I don't know. I need to seek that out, right? That's been my whole career. And it's like now with AI, it's like there's probably something happening that you don't know, right? So we need to build systems to be able to consume hundreds of times more content than we did before. And we need to be prepared to test, you should always be prototyping something with something that's new. Right. And so I think it's like this world really like, people who don't appreciate focusing on one thing for too long, just like to be scattered all over the place. Like AI just, really rewards that. Right. Cause you can just, be thinking and reading and kind of going all over the place with the baseline of, there's probably something you're missing, right? And more so than ever, AI has really underlined that.
So do you think this is the era of the generalist versus the specialist?
Totally. You know, I think the more experience you have with, the more content you consume that's not like myopically scoped to what you do, right? Like in school, I was a big like biology guy, right? And so all of a sudden, like
Nice.
how I thought about, learning about biology is now like, some of these mental tricks that I use, like all of a sudden it's like super valuable. So yeah, I think the people who know more about a lot of different things versus super deep experts, because the super deep expert is sitting behind the prompt, right? Like, you can make yourself an expert. It's really about knowing, where you want to go.
I would just add there that probably if you want to be very, very specialized, it still have a place if you're building the foundation models.
Yeah.
So if you're like really like researcher, cutting edge, like just like for OpenAI, Claude, I think that's 100% like that has a place there because they are cut like they're super 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 in one deep. But everybody else, man, I'm like generalists do great,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
you're willing to learn.
Yeah. 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 You got to be ready to just consume and content and build mental frameworks and just never stop. Right.
What's some business advice that you would give someone that would start a new business in 2026?
So like I've been an entrepreneur like basically my entire career. And a lot of people come up and they're like, they ask this question and it's like, don't stop once it gets hard, right? Because like there's a point where like starting a business is really exciting and all that kind of stuff, especially with AI. There is always a solution to the problem that you have. It's just a matter of, you know, sitting in and enjoying the suffering and getting to the other side of it. And with AI, all of a sudden that suffering is a lot less than it was 5 years ago. So I feel like a lot of people, it's like, I can't get the code to run and I'm vibe coding for the first time, right? It's like developers haven't been able to get the code to run since computers started, right? Like you just got to sit with it, right? And maybe it could be for days before you get it right. So that's not super profound, but I think that's where I would
Hey,
go.
it doesn't have to be profound. It's like
No,
sometimes the
I
simple
like that.
things.
I mean, it's similar goes what Elon Musk says. He's like basically being an entrepreneur is like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. Because it's like, man, you just gotta get used to that flavor of blood. Because man, there's so
Yeah.
much shit going on, and then you have like it's a roller coaster. Someday you have like fucking highs, they're super high, and then the next day can be super low. But yeah, you just keep going. Because also one of the things, the biggest problem is that because when people always talk about burnouts. burnout in general, especially being an entrepreneur. But I think the biggest, if you don't have any like momentum, I think that's the biggest cause of burnout. That's why I like keep going and then just keep pushing, because if as long as you make progress, you're going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like we talk about burnout and stuff, and it's like, I mean, there's articles in like Business Insider and stuff about like all the signs of burnout, right? And it's like, that was yesterday. Today's awesome, right? Because I figured it out, right? Like you're gonna be burnt out, like until you sell your company, right? Like it's just how it's gonna be, and then we get to be on a beach, you know?
And then we're thinking like, what are we going to do with our free time, right? Because there are so many people who sell their company and then don't know, because they're so used just getting like beaten or kicked in the nuts all
Yeah.
day around.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think about that a lot. Like, I just want to like live like, you guys are in Barcelona, right? Like, south of Spain, ride my bike, watch soccer. I don't have to work,
Oh,
you know?
I'm telling you, like this is something that was new for us. Like Barcelona is super close to the mountains. So
Yeah.
4 weeks ago we went snowboarding. If you snowboard, this is fucking fantastic. 2.5 hours, 3 hours drive from here. So winter snowboard. We there live directly at the beach. I'll tell you, Barcelona is the place to go.
Oh
It's
yeah.
amazing.
If you're ever
Because
around, let
Andorra is
us
like
know.
right there, right? Like the country, Andorra is
The
like
what?
right there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Andorra, 3 hours. That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah. In the
Yeah,
Pyrenees.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they like live on the top of mountains. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're so small now. So I think like 80,000 like inhabitants. It's wild.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a tax haven, so
Yeah, it's a tax haven as well. So if you sell your business, go to Andorra. Let's go. You can use your bike. What bike do you drive, by the way?
I'm on a BMC, like Team Machine
Is it
road bike.
that's a street bike?
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
Oh, nice. By the way, I was just still wondering because we said agents take away, or sorry, when agents start talking to each other, and they are doing all the coordination as through Waxell, for example. Do you think in the future there will still be a role for middle management?
Interesting. I think the
I
kind of
mean,
concept of like organizations will change. Middle management has gotten obviously bloated over the last however long, right? But the idea of like units of a company kind of having their, general that, is leading the charge and kind of helping because it like the AI isn't going to figure out, you know, at least now, what the winning play in the market is, or looking at the person who's running like I'm always assessing my team, like, is this person about to like get, have they been going hard for 2 weeks and they need, we need to take stuff off their plate and all that kind of stuff. I mean, in a large organization, that's not the top leadership kind of managing the team. So I do think middle management from a strategic standpoint, from a human, kind of capital management, human energy management, all the stuff that, goes into maintaining a high performing team. I think that's where middle management could absolutely crush. But like this idea of like VP, director, general man, I think that goes away. Yeah.
right. So and the managers managing other managers, that's going to go away, but the team lead's probably going to stay because they're technical enough and they are directly boots to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need that person who's a really good leader to keep the energy up. Right. I mean, it sounds like you guys use agents all day. Like the amount of information that that you consume, like sometimes like a 4-hour workday is about what, employees should be doing based on like what they've just produced and how much cognitive load that actually just used. Right. And like, that's not, if you're just punching time cards, like nobody's going to know that. And I think you lose that employee.
Yeah, I feel it. Sometimes I like going for walks. It helps to reset my mind.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's an overload. A little bit of
Yeah.
nature is great.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
I have two closing questions. So one of them, do your agents no? How do you prevent hallucination from causing real business damage? Is that's where like the layer comes in, where you basically have in the file that you say, okay, the here double check, or how would you actually prevent this from happening in agentic world?
So how do we keep the agents from causing damage?
Yeah, and
Ah, yes, yes. So I think there's a few things that kind of go into this. So with Waxell, we have what are called dynamic policies, right? So now you're deterministically checking things or probabilistically with things like eval, right? So you can put into place like, okay, I've talked about PII, token burn, the amount of times the tool is being called, those kinds of things, right? So if the LLM is making bad decisions or it's about to do things that, it shouldn't, right? And then when we talk about business damage, right, you could think about all the different ways that you cause business damage. So one of them would be the email that it's sending or the chat that is sending to a customer. The content is wrong. In the case of like the emails being deleted, that's a command that the system, or that's a click. If it's doing some browser automation or something, that's a click, right? But that button, right, that it's clicking, that it's looking at the classes and all this kind of stuff, that is still a command that is being produced by, or a response is being produced by the large language model. So I think when you hook in the kind of QA policy eval into the various like pre, mid, and post hooks inside the agent, I think that's the only way to do it. Whereas I think there's a lot of, I think the other way to do it, well, the only way that I would trust, the other way to do it is, you're kind of doing QA in real time. So like email is going to go out and then you have an agent say, hey, is this agent, when we talk about hallucinations, say you have a RAG pipeline, is this content inside of the, inside of the materials that is used in the email, for as an example, right? So that can be done in eval. That can also be put into a policy, right? Here's how you check, right? So I think there's the kind of low level, like in the actual agent way to solve that. And then I think there's the policy operational, transparent way to do that.
So what are the next steps? What's the future for Waxell? Where you guys going this year? What's
Yeah, we're releasing everything with generous kind of free tiers for the public to be able to kind of come in to understand, first observe, then govern, then move your agents into the Waxell runtime, which I think will, I've always described, or I've been describing this over the last month, is like build like Claude Code style agents for your actual business, right? Run it on your data, not, sharing it with one of the future $1 trillion companies in the world, right? And so we're really kind of sprinting to that over the next, say, 6 weeks, servicing the customers we have, and hopefully blow this thing into a, could be $1 billion company.
awesome? I believe in you. I like it. So Logan, where can people find you on Waxell?
Yeah, so we're on Waxell.ai, and I'm Logan Kelly at Waxell on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect with people who are interested in this stuff.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Logan. It was a pleasure talking to you.